As an international keynote speaker and coach for aspiring world-class speakers, I get the question a lot of how did you get started speaking? Where did you start? Like, what did you do? And I'm the first one to say that although I did just get my t-shirt from National Speakers Association the other day that says, "Your greatest fear is how I make a living," right? It's kind of sounds a little arrogant, but it's not really. It's true, right? It's true. But even having said that, every single time I speak, I still get nervous, right? I've spoken on hundreds and hundreds of stages all around the world, and I still get nervous. So that doesn't go away. That's the bad news. The good news is we learn how to transmute that nervous energy into excitement, into passion, into focus, into commitment and enthusiasm. So how did I get started? Well, I'll tell you what, I definitely did not fall out of the womb a professional speaker, right? There was a process of putting in the work, putting in the repetitions, developing my awareness of what I knew and what I didn't know, and continually taking action courageously in spite of fear. And every single time I did that, I would up-level my courage, up-level my confidence, right? Hiring coaches, investing money I didn't think that I had to up-level my awareness, getting on more stages and finding opportunities to provide value inside of my niche of courage, right? Having the courage to overcome failure, fear, and doubt, to really live your dream life now, to land your world-class speaking opportunities, to become a world-class speaker, right? That's been the process of just doing the work. But one of the first times I spoke, I was at Dial Corporation. So I worked for this large international consulting firm, and Dial Corporation was one of our clients. And I had to work really hard to get this opportunity to speak and really pitch an opportunity for them to work with us. And I had to pitch one of my internal managers and leaders in my company to allow me to go with him to meet with these executives at Dial. So it's one of my first opportunities, not the very first, but one of the first times that I got an opportunity to speak in front of, it was a boardroom full of people. And I get up there, okay, picture this, like 20 people around a board table. And Dan, my associate, is over here on my right, and I'm at the front of the table, I'm standing up, and I'm starting to speak, and I am just like, my mind just goes like a sheet of ice. And I don't remember what I'm gonna say. I'm all nervous. I'm turning red. I'm like got a knot in my stomach. This is one of my first main opportunities to speak. And it is a train wreck. Like, I'm talking absolute gong show. I don't know if you can relate or if you can just kind of picture or feel into what that might be like, what that might feel like on stage. And I mean, I look over and Dan, he is like beet red. He looks like his head's ready to pop off, and he is just furious. And it was a nightmare, right? It was an absolute nightmare. And eventually it ended. I did get a little minor sale. I think they gave me a little pity sale, pity purchase at the end. But ultimately, that's kind of really the very beginning of my speaking career. And it didn't get much better after that, right? I fast forward several years. I was really gun shy of speaking, but at the same time, I'd always been somebody who followed kind of what felt good. And I knew that standing behind a computer and like typing away or analyzing things, or I knew that that didn't really fit my unique gifts and talents and my personality. And I did know that being out with people did. So the more I knew about that, the more awareness I had around that, I would put myself in opportunities to be in front of people. But I was always super, super nervous, and I had that Dial Corporation experience in the back of my mind. Well, fast forward several years, I become an entrepreneur, move out to California, and I ended up really getting introduced to my mentor, Justin, and introduced to the world of personal growth and development. I had a sales and marketing business. First time I ever made six figures. First time I really got immersed in personal growth and development, and just living a great life, right? One day, I'm in the office with Justin, and every week he would give a presentation to about 30, 40 people in our boardroom. And I would just be in the audience, shaking hands, kissing babies, giving high fives, but being a good audience member. And on this day, Justin and I walk up to the conference room. There's all glass walls. Picture this, all glass walls, all glass door, about 30, 40 people in there. As soon as we get to the door, every single one of the heads in that room just like, whoop, they look right over at us and they're like, okay, they're coming in. Right at that moment, Justin turns to me, he flips me the clicker and he's like, you're on today, buddy. Opens the door and he walks in. And I'm just like, what the heck just happened? And man, Dial Corporation just woof, right in my face. I get up there, I get to the front of the room, again, 30, 40 people in this really tightly packed boardroom. And I start delivering this speech. I start fumbling my way through this. It was, again, another absolute train wreck. But eventually I settle in and I start to recall some of the things that Justin had shared with me over the previous months. And I end up getting through that speech. But man, I'm like, my knees are knocking, my face is sweating, I've got a tight stomach, tightness in my chest. It was not fun, not fun. And one of the things I learned from that experience is that, growth is never comfortable, right? Growth is never comfortable, but it's always worth it. It's always worth it. And I've also found that we've got to live an extraordinary life, to live our dream life now, to do anything of significance, to follow our dreams and step into that world of potential uncomfortability, right? To stretch into that next level version of ourselves, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm going to say that again. We have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that was the day that I started to realize, like, wow, there might be something here. There might be something here because Justin saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. I knew I liked being out in front of people, but I didn't think I'd ever become a speaker, especially after that Dial experience. But this is another thing I learned working with Justin is sometimes you do need to borrow the belief of other people in us or in you until you can build up and develop enough courage and confidence to take on and own that belief for yourself, right? And that's exactly what I did. I borrowed Justin's belief in me, right? I trusted that and I just took action in spite of fear. I had courage to take action in spite of fear. And magic and miracles have opened up from that. And fast forward a few months from that boardroom experience with Justin, and I find myself in a hotel delivering a speech to over 150 people, right? I'm in this room and I'm actually on a stage now. This is the first time I ever spoke to over 100 people at one time. And I'm on the stage and I'm actually in the pocket. Like I'm feeling good. I had time to practice and rehearse and I feel really good. I'm starting to develop a little bit more confidence. Still not a world-class speaker at that time, but I had moments of brilliance. And the moments of brilliance, at least on that day, was at one point in that speech, I was so congruent, so authentic, so vulnerable, so aligned with spiritual energy. I was like locked in. And there was such a connection with that audience, that invisible barrier that I talk about that is blocking us from people in our audience, whether it's over video, whether it's live. There's this invisible barrier that just sits in our subconscious and in the subconscious of our audience. That was completely dissolved. I was so connected to that audience and they were so connected to me. And you could literally feel the energy in the room. It was palpable. Like I was tingling and the energy was palpable. You could cut it with a knife. So much so, it was so real that I literally looked out on the audience at one point, about 45 minutes into my speech, and I was like, do you guys feel that? And they're like, yeah, keep going, right? And it was so magical. And that was the day that I got absolutely hooked on becoming a world-class speaker. Now, it didn't just happen right then and there. I didn't all of a sudden become a world-class speaker. There was a lot of work that had to be done, a lot of reps that were put in, a lot of stages that I got on, a lot of money invested in coaching, in getting mentors to help me develop my awareness, and a lot of watching the game tape, like watching myself on video to elevate my awareness. But that was the beginning of it. That's where that really lit my fire, that I really got that I can become a world-class speaker. So no matter where you're starting right now, if you're a purpose-driven influencer and you're an aspiring world-class speaker, you have this message that's burning inside of you. You have this feeling, this calling that you want to make a difference so bad that it hurts, right? If that's you and you're not quite sure where to start and you have some fear over what it's going to look like for you to actually get on stages and get on podcasts and get on videos, to actually speak with power. If that's you, then just know that look where I started, right? Almost getting the hook at Dial Corporation, then almost feeling like I was going to faint or die in that room with Justin when I'm delivering the speech, and I just find out in the moment that I have to deliver it, right? If that's you, just know that that's where I started, and now I speak all around the world, right? And although I'm still nervous, I'm still get a little bit of anxiety from time to time when I get on stage, I have ways of transmuting that energy into passion, into excitement, and into flow for myself and the audience. So hopefully that inspires you. My name is Clinton Young, international keynote speaker, founder of the Speaker Posse, and coach for aspiring world-class speakers like yourself. Until next time, remember to think big, say yes, and take action. Bye for now.